The morning sun rose over New Haven just like it did every other day. The light touched the worn buildings and dusty streets of the colony, showing all the cracks and problems that nobody had time to fix. Lisa Campbell stood at her office window and watched the colonists head out to the fields. 12,000 people lived on this world, and every single one of them worked hard just to survive another day. Lisa had been the colony administrator for 3 years now. She knew every problem this place had, and there were many. The water recycler broke down twice a month. The power grid failed whenever too many people used it at once. The supply ships from Earth came late more often than on time. Last month, they waited 6 weeks for medicine that should have arrived in 3. New Haven sat on the edge of human space, on a planet called Kepler 442b. Earth had sent colonists here 15 years ago because the soil was good for farming. That was about the only thing this world had going for it. No valuable minerals, no strategic importance, nothing that made Earth care much about what happened here. The people of New Haven grew food, sent it back to other colonies, and tried not to complain too much about being forgotten. Jake Morrison walked into Lisa's office without knocking. He never knocked. As the chief of security, Jake figured he had the right to go anywhere he needed. He carried a coffee cup in one hand and a data pad in the other. His uniform looked as tired as everything else on New Haven. "We got another equipment failure," Jake said. He dropped into a chair without waiting for an invitation. "The Southgate sensor is dead again. That's the 3rd time this month," Lisa sighed. "Can Kevin fix it?" "Kevin can fix anything, but he needs parts. Parts we don't have. Parts that won't arrive for another 2 months if the supply ship doesn't get delayed again. So we go without sensors on the south side." "We go without sensors on the south side," Jake agreed. He drank his coffee and stared at the wall. "You know, when I signed up for this job, they told me I'd be protecting the colony from wildlife and keeping the peace. They didn't mention I'd be doing it with 30 people and equipment older than my grandmother." Lisa almost smiled. Jake complained a lot, but he never gave up. None of them did. That was the thing about New Haven. The colonists were tough because they had to be. Earth didn't send its best and brightest out here. It sent people who needed a fresh start, people who wanted land of their own, people who didn't fit anywhere else. Those people had built something real on this dusty world. The alarm started screaming before Lisa could respond to Jake. Both of them jumped up. That alarm only went off for one reason. Something had appeared on the long-range sensors, something big enough to worry about. They ran to the control room together. Amy Chen sat at the main console, her fingers flying over the controls. Amy handled communications and sensors for the whole colony. She was 23 years old and had never been to Earth. New Haven was the only home she knew. "Talk to me, Amy," Lisa said. Amy's face was pale. Long-range sensors picked up multiple contacts. "They're still far out, but they're coming this way." The computer identified them as ships. "How many ships?" Jake asked. 12. "All of them are big. Really big." Amy pressed more buttons. "The sensor signature matches Kryloth warships." The room went quiet. Everyone knew about the Kryloth. The alien empire had been pushing into human space for 2 years now. They attacked colonies, conquered them, and made the people there into slaves. Earth tried to fight back, but the Kryloth were strong and had better weapons. 3 human colonies had already fallen. Lisa felt her stomach drop. "How long until they get here?" "Maybe 48 hours. Could be less if they push their engines hard." "Send a distress call to Earth. Tell them we need help right now." Amy nodded and started working. Her fingers shook a little as she typed. Lisa didn't blame her. They all knew what happened to colonies that the Kryloth attacked. There were no happy stories. Jake pulled Lisa aside. He kept his voice low so only she could hear. "Lisa, we can't fight 12 warships. We've got 30 security people with rifles that are older than dirt. We don't have any real weapons. We don't have shields or defensive systems. We have nothing." "I know," Lisa said. She knew exactly how bad their situation was. New Haven didn't even have a real military presence. Earth considered them too small and unimportant to protect properly. The 30 security officers were meant to handle local problems, not fight an alien invasion. Amy turned around in her chair. "Earth responded to our distress call. Already? What did they say?" Amy's expression told Lisa everything before the words came out. "Reinforcements are on the way. Estimated arrival time is 3 weeks. 3 weeks. The Kryloth would be here in 2 days." Lisa felt like someone had punched her in the chest. She looked around the control room at the faces of her people. They all understood what this meant. 3 weeks, Jake said quietly. They might as well have told us goodbye. Lisa walked back to the window. Outside, colonists still worked in the fields. Children played in the streets. People went about their lives, not knowing yet that everything was about to change. These were her people. She was responsible for them. She had to tell them that death was coming and there was nothing anyone could do to stop it. "Call an emergency meeting," Lisa said. "Everyone in the colony needs to know what's happening. Give them 2 hours to get to the main hall." The next 2 hours felt like 2 minutes. Lisa tried to think of what to say, how to explain that they were all probably going to die. She kept coming back to the same thought. These people deserved better. They worked hard, followed the rules, and did everything Earth asked of them. Now Earth couldn't help them when they needed it most. The main hall filled up with people. Families sat together. Workers came in still wearing their field clothes. Everyone had heard something was wrong. The room buzzed with worried voices. Lisa stepped up to the front. The room went quiet. She looked at all those faces and knew many of them wouldn't survive the next few days. "I won't waste time," Lisa said. Her voice carried across the hall. "Our long-range sensors detected 12 Kryloth warships heading toward New Haven. They'll arrive in about 48 hours. We sent a distress signal to Earth. Reinforcements are coming, but they won't get here for 3 weeks." The hall erupted. People shouted questions. Some cried. Others just sat in stunned silence. Lisa raised her hand for quiet. It took a minute, but people settled down. "We have 3 options. First, we can try to evacuate, but we don't have enough ships to take everyone. Second, we can surrender immediately when the Kryloth arrive and hope they treat us fairly." "They won't," someone yelled from the back. "The Kryloth don't treat anyone fairly." "I know," Lisa said. "Which brings me to option 3. We fight." Jake stood up from where he sat near the front. "We can't win against 12 warships." "No, we can't," Lisa agreed. "But maybe we can survive long enough for help to arrive. Maybe we can make them work for it. Maybe we can show them that humans don't just give up even when we should." An older woman named Claire stood up. She owned one of the biggest farms on New Haven. "I've lived on this world for 12 years. I built my farm from nothing. I'm not letting some aliens take it without a fight, even if all we do is slow them down." More people stood up. A man named Danny, who worked construction. A woman named Helen, who taught at the school. Ben Carter, the colony doctor. One by one, people rose to their feet. Not everyone, but enough. Lisa felt something tight in her chest loosen. "Then we fight. We have 2 days to get ready. I won't lie to you. Most of us probably won't survive this, but we're going to make the Kryloth remember New Haven. We're going to show them what humans are made of." The meeting ended. People filed out talking in urgent voices. They had work to do and not much time to do it. Lisa watched them go and wondered if she had just sentenced them all to death. Then she thought about the alternative. Waiting helplessly for the Kryloth to arrive. Surrendering without even trying. No, fighting was better. Even if they lost, at least they would go down swinging. Jake came over and stood next to her. "You really think we have a chance?" "No," Lisa said honestly. "But I think we have to try anyway." "Fair enough." Jake managed a small smile. "Well, if we're going to die, we might as well die doing something crazy. I've got some ideas about how to make those Kryloth wish they picked a different colony to attack." Lisa nodded. "Get everyone together who knows how to build or fix things. We have 2 days to turn a farming colony into something the Kryloth have never seen before." As Jake walked away to gather people, Lisa looked up at the sky. Somewhere out there, 12 warships were coming to destroy everything these people had built. But New Haven wasn't going to make it easy for them. Not by a long shot. Kevin Palmer had been an engineer on New Haven for 7 years. He could fix almost anything with spare parts and determination. Now Lisa Campbell was asking him to do something completely different. She wanted him to turn farming equipment into weapons. "You want me to weaponize a crop duster?" Kevin said slowly, making sure he heard correctly. "Can you do it?" Lisa asked. Kevin looked at the old aircraft sitting in the maintenance hangar. It was designed to spray fertilizer and pesticides over the fields. The thing was barely holding together as it was, but Kevin's mind was already working through the possibilities. Maybe. The spray system could carry other things besides chemicals, something that burns hot. The problem is we don't have any real incendiaries. "So make some," Jake said. He stood with his arms crossed, looking impatient. "We've got 2 days, Kevin. Use whatever you need." Kevin gathered his team. They were all maintenance workers and mechanics who kept the colony running. None of them had military training. All of them were angry about the Kryloth coming to take their home. That anger was good fuel. They started pulling apart everything they could find. The colony had plenty of agricultural chemicals. Some of them burned very well when mixed properly. Kevin had never made weapons before, but he understood chemistry and physics. Fire was fire, whether it came from a military weapon or a homemade device. While Kevin worked on the crop dusters, Danny Wright organized another group. Danny knew every building in the colony because he helped build most of them. He understood structures, supports, and how things could fall apart when you pushed them the right way. "We need to make the colony dangerous to move through," Danny explained to his team. "Every building, every street, every corner needs to be a potential threat." They started with the simple stuff: tripwires connected to alarms, false floors that could collapse, doors that locked from the outside once someone walked through them. Danny's team worked fast, using materials from construction sites and spare parts from everywhere else. Claire Hudson came up with an idea that made everyone stop and think. She was the farmer who spoke up at the meeting, and she knew the land around the colony better than anyone. "The Kryloth will land their ships somewhere," Claire said. "They'll need flat ground. There are only 3 places near the colony with enough space for multiple ships. What if we make those places less appealing?" "How?" Lisa asked. Claire smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "Farming has its tricks. We've got equipment that can dig deep holes and cover them up so they look like solid ground. We've got chemicals that can make soil unstable. We've got ways to make a landing zone look perfect until someone actually tries to use it." Lisa approved the plan. Claire took a team of farmers out to work. They knew their job was probably suicide. The Kryloth would figure out the traps eventually, but even a few crashed landing craft would help. Ben Carter set up a medical station in the most protected building they had. Ben was the colony doctor, but he also loved history. While everyone else worked on physical preparations, Ben studied old battles on Earth. He looked for patterns, for tactics that worked when one side had fewer weapons than the other. "Guerrilla warfare," Ben said during a planning meeting. "That's what this is called. You don't fight fair when you can't win fair. You hit fast, retreat, and hit somewhere else. You make the enemy scared and confused. You use psychology as much as weapons." "The Kryloth aren't humans," Jake pointed out. "Will psychological warfare even work on them?" "Every intelligent species has fears," Ben said. "Every military force has morale. If we can make them uncertain, make them question their commanders, make them feel like they're not winning even when they should be, that's almost as good as hurting them." Amy Chen contributed something unexpected. She had been monitoring Kryloth communications since their fleet appeared on sensors. The aliens didn't bother encrypting everything, because they didn't think anyone out here was sophisticated enough to understand their language. They were wrong. Amy had a translation program that worked well enough to get the basic meaning. "I've been listening to their command channel," Amy told Lisa and Jake in private. "The fleet commander is called War Leader Thexkar. From what I can tell, this is some kind of training mission for him." "Training?" Lisa felt her anger rise. "They're treating us like practice?" "It gets worse. Thexkar is bragging to his officers about how easy this will be. He wants to take New Haven intact and broadcast the conquest across the sector. He thinks defeating Earth's weakest colony will make him look strong." Jake laughed, but there was no humor in it. "He wants a show. Let's give him a show he'll never forget." That conversation changed their whole approach. They weren't just preparing to survive anymore. They were preparing to humiliate the Kryloth in front of anyone watching. Every trap, every tactic, every defensive measure was designed not just to hurt the enemy, but to make them look foolish. The colony's small communications array became a weapon too. Amy set up systems to broadcast everything that happened. If the Kryloth wanted to show the sector their victory, New Haven would make sure everyone saw the full story. Ben had another idea. "Music," he said. "What?" Jake looked confused. "Humans use music in war. Songs that motivate soldiers, songs that intimidate enemies. The Kryloth won't understand our music, but they'll hear it. It'll create an atmosphere, make everything feel wrong to them." They programmed speakers throughout the colony to play specific songs at specific times. War music, angry music, defiant music. Some of it was traditional. Some of it was just loud and aggressive. All of it was designed to get under the skin of anyone listening. Kevin came back 36 hours after starting work. He looked exhausted but satisfied. "I've weaponized 3 crop dusters. They won't survive long once the shooting starts." but they'll each get at least one pass. We've also converted 24 agricultural drones. They can carry small explosive charges and crash into targets. Again, won't do much damage, but it'll be confusing as hell. What about the incendiaries? Lisa asked. We made them work. They're not military grade, but they burn hot and stick to things. I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end. Danny's team finished turning the colony into a maze of tricks and traps. Walking through the settlement now felt dangerous even if you knew where all the traps were. Danny showed Lisa a map marking everything they installed. The main street has false panels that drop into pits. Building 12 has a ceiling rigged to collapse. The water tower can be toppled with one button press. We've turned every structure into something that might bite. Lisa studied the map and felt both proud and sad. The colonists had taken their home and turned it into a weapon. After this was over, if any of them survived, they would have to rebuild everything. The morning of the second day arrived. The Kryloth fleet would enter orbit in less than 12 hours. The colonists gathered for a final meeting. People looked scared but determined. Some held weapons, mostly hunting rifles and tools converted into crude clubs. Others had put on whatever protective gear they could find. Lisa stood before them one last time. We've done everything we can. Our homes are ready. Our traps are set. When the Kryloth come, we're going to show them something they don't expect. We're going to show them that humans don't surrender. Not today. Not ever. What if we can't win? Someone called out. Then we lose fighting, Lisa said simply. But I don't think we're going to lose. I think the Kryloth have no idea what they're about to face. They think we're weak because we're small. They think we're helpless because we're a farming colony. They're wrong. We're humans. We're the species that survived ice ages and plagues and wars. We're the species that never gives up. Those aliens are about to learn a very hard lesson. Jake stepped forward. Everyone knows their positions. When the attack starts, follow the plan. Don't try to be heroes. Stay alive as long as possible. Make them work for every meter of ground. If you get in trouble, retreat through the tunnels. We've got medical stations set up in 3 locations. Ben and his people will take care of the wounded. One more thing, Amy said. She looked nervous but excited. I've set up the broadcasting system. Everything that happens here will be transmitted across every channel we can reach. The whole sector will watch. Make it count. The colonists dispersed to their positions. Families said goodbye to each other, not sure if they would meet again. Children were moved to the most protected shelters, guarded by the oldest colonists who couldn't fight but could protect. Lisa walked through the colony one last time. She saw Kevin making final adjustments to a crop duster, Danny checking trap mechanisms, Claire coordinating with farmers who knew the terrain, Ben organizing medical supplies, Amy at her communications console, ready to broadcast their stand to anyone who would listen. These were her people. Not soldiers, not warriors, just farmers and engineers and teachers and parents who refused to give up their home without a fight. Lisa felt pride stronger than anything she had ever experienced. Jake found her standing in the central plaza. Sensors show the fleet entering orbit. They'll be in position within 2 hours. Then I guess this is it, Lisa said. This is it. Jake checked his rifle, an old projectile weapon that should have been in a museum. You know, I've been thinking. The Kryloth picked the wrong colony to attack. Why's that? Because we're Earth's weakest colony. We've survived everything by being tough and smart and too stubborn to quit. We've faced equipment failures, supply shortages, harsh weather, and every other problem you can imagine. We're still here. What's one more problem? Lisa smiled. Just one more problem. The alarm sounded. Kryloth ships were beginning their descent. The battle for New Haven was about to begin. Lisa activated the colony-wide communication system. Her voice carried to every colonist at their position. This is Administrator Campbell. The enemy is coming. Remember who you are. Remember what you're fighting for. Today, New Haven shows the galaxy what humanity is made of. Good luck to all of you. She switched off the microphone and looked at Jake. Ready? As ready as I'll ever be. They moved to the command center, a reinforced building in the colony's center. Screens showed the Kryloth ships descending through the atmosphere. 12 massive warships that could destroy the colony from orbit if they wanted. But Thexkar wanted a ground victory. He wanted prisoners and propaganda. That mistake would cost him. Amy counted down. Contact in 10 minutes. 9 minutes. 8 minutes. Kevin's voice came through on the radio. Crop dusters are fueled and ready. Drones are armed. Just say the word. Danny checked in next. All traps are active. Colonists are in position. We're ready, Claire reported from outside the colony. Landing zone traps are set. Let's see how those Kryloth ships handle unstable ground. Lisa took a deep breath. In a few minutes, people she knew would start dying. The colony she loved would be damaged or destroyed. But they were going to fight. They were going to make the Kryloth remember this day forever. Amy, Lisa said calmly, start broadcasting. I want everyone in the sector to see this. Broadcasting now, Amy confirmed. We're live across all channels. The first Kryloth landing craft appeared in the sky, descending toward the colony. Lisa watched them come and felt no fear. Only determination. New Haven was about to become famous one way or another. War leader Thexkar stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the planet below. This would be an easy victory. The planet had no orbital defenses, no military installations, and no real weapons. His intelligence report said the colony held only 12,000 humans engaged in primitive agriculture. His forces numbered over 5,000 trained warriors with advanced weapons and armor. The outcome was certain. War leader, his communications officer said, we are receiving a transmission from the colony surface. Play it, Thexkar ordered. He expected begging or perhaps angry defiance. Either would be amusing. A human female appeared on the screen. She looked tired but calm. This is Administrator Lisa Campbell of New Haven Colony. We have received your demands for surrender. We request 6 hours to prepare the colony for transfer of authority. Thexkar's officers looked at each other in surprise. A human administrator asking for time to prepare paperwork. It was so absurdly bureaucratic that several warriors laughed. Grant her request, Thexkar said. 6 hours will give our troops time to practice orbital maneuvers. When we land, I want this operation to be perfect. The entire sector will watch us demonstrate Kryloth superiority. The 6 hours passed slowly for the Kryloth. They didn't know that below. Every minute was being used to complete preparations. Traps were being armed. Positions were being reinforced. Amy Chen was broadcasting everything on channels the Kryloth hadn't thought to monitor. When the time expired, Thexkar sent his first wave. 20 landing craft carrying 500 warriors. He didn't even send a quarter of his force. This many troops should be more than enough to secure a farming settlement. The landing craft descended through the atmosphere. The pilots reported no anti-air fire, no defensive systems, nothing. One pilot did note something strange. War leader, we're having difficulty with our scanners. Life signs are not registering clearly. Equipment malfunction, Thexkar said dismissively. Proceed with landing. The craft set down in and around the colony's central plaza. The warriors emerged with weapons ready, expecting resistance or perhaps crowds of surrendering civilians. They found neither. The colony appeared completely abandoned. Buildings stood dark and empty. Streets were clear. Nothing moved. The warrior commander, a veteran named Krath, felt uneasy. Something was wrong. Humans didn't abandon their settlements this completely. Spread out, he ordered. Search every structure. Find the colonists. The warriors moved forward cautiously. The silence felt oppressive. Then the speakers activated. Sound blasted across the plaza. Strange human music, aggressive and loud. The warriors had never heard anything like it. The noise made them uncomfortable without knowing why. Lisa Campbell's voice came through the speakers next, calm and almost friendly. Welcome to New Haven. We've been expecting you. Krath spun around, trying to locate where the voice originated. Before he could order his troops to find the speakers, the colony came alive. Colonists appeared from buildings the Kryloth thought were empty. They fired hunting rifles from windows and doorways. The bullets didn't penetrate Kryloth armor, but they didn't need to. They were a distraction. While the warriors focused on the shooters, other things happened. A section of the main street collapsed, dropping 10 warriors into a pit filled with sharpened metal poles. Not enough to kill armored Kryloth, but enough to trap and injure them. An explosion erupted from a building to the left. Not from military explosives, but from mining charges that Kevin's team had rigged. 3 warriors went down. Agricultural drones, normally used to monitor crops, swarmed the landing area. The Kryloth shot them down easily, but there were dozens. Each drone carried a small explosive charge. Most did no damage. Some got lucky and found weak points in armor or damaged equipment. All of them created chaos and confusion. Kevin's weaponized crop duster screamed over the plaza, spraying its homemade incendiaries across a group of warriors. The mixture stuck to their armor and burned hot. The Kryloth weren't hurt badly, but suddenly they were dealing with fire and smoke while under attack from multiple directions. Krath tried to organize his troops, but the humans refused to fight like proper enemies. They would shoot, then disappear before the Kryloth could return fire. They used tunnels and passages the aliens didn't know existed. They attacked from unexpected angles and retreated before the Kryloth could respond. "This is insane," one of Krath's officers said over the radio. "They're using farming equipment as weapons." "Pull back to the landing craft," Krath ordered. "We need to regroup." But retreating proved difficult. The colonists had made every meter of ground dangerous. Warriors triggered traps walking back the same routes they had used coming in. Buildings that seemed empty suddenly weren't. The Kryloth found themselves fighting not an army but a settlement itself. Danny Wright watched from a hidden position as Kryloth warriors struggled with tactics designed for military battles. These aliens expected honorable combat between armed forces. Instead, they got farming tools converted into traps and civilians who refused to stand still and fight properly. From orbit, war leader Thexkar watched with growing anger. His first wave should have secured the colony in minutes. Instead, they were taking casualties from an enemy that barely had weapons. Worse, he knew other species were watching. This was supposed to be a demonstration of power. It was becoming an embarrassment. "Send the second wave," Thexkar ordered. 1,000 warriors this time. Have them sweep the colony systematically. I want every human found and subdued." The second wave landed outside the colony perimeter. They advanced in proper military formation, scanning for traps and covering each other. It was a much more professional approach. Lisa watched them come and spoke into her radio. "Claire, they're coming your way." "We see them," Claire responded from her position in the farmland. "Let's give them a warm welcome." The Kryloth warriors marched across what appeared to be solid farmland. Their scanners said the ground was stable. The sensors were wrong. Claire and her farmers had spent 2 days using agricultural equipment to dig holes and weaken the soil structure. They covered everything carefully with plants and thin supports that looked normal, but couldn't hold weight. The first few Kryloth made it across fine. Then a warrior stepped on a weak point. The ground collapsed beneath him, and he dropped into a hole filled with farm tools turned into crude spears. The warrior behind him triggered another collapse. Within seconds, orderly ranks became chaos as the ground betrayed them. Claire's team didn't stick around to watch. They disappeared into the landscape they knew perfectly, using terrain features and cultivation patterns to hide. The Kryloth tried to follow but quickly realized they were chasing ghosts. These farmers knew every meter of their land. The aliens were just visitors. Back in the colony, Jake Morrison coordinated the defenders. They were losing people. The Kryloth weapons were more powerful, and eventually superior firepower made the difference. But every colonist who fell took time and effort to defeat. The Kryloth weren't just walking through empty buildings. They were fighting for every position. Ben Carter worked frantically in the medical station, treating wounded colonists as they came in through the tunnel system. The injuries were bad. Kryloth weapons did terrible damage, but Ben kept working, and wounded colonists who could still move went back out to fight again. "We're not going to win this," one injured farmer said to Ben while being bandaged. "Winning isn't the point," Ben replied. "Surviving is the point, making them pay for every meter. Showing them we don't quit." Amy Chen sat at her communications console, broadcasting everything. She cut between different camera feeds showing the Kryloth struggling against farming colonists. She added commentary, explaining how each trap worked, what each defender was doing. She made sure everyone watching understood exactly what was happening. "The mighty Kryloth Empire," Amy said into the microphone, her voice carrying across the sector, brought to a standstill by farmers and engineers. They came with 12 warships to conquer a colony of 12,000 civilians. Watch as humanity shows you what we're made of. Messages started coming back. Other human colonies expressing support. Some alien species sending questions. A few voices suggesting that maybe the Kryloth weren't as unstoppable as everyone thought. Amy broadcast all of it. Thexkar received reports from the surface that made his blood burn with rage. His warriors were fighting well, but progress was agonizingly slow. The humans used the colony itself as a weapon. Every building was a potential ambush. Every street might have traps. Equipment that should be harmless turned out to be dangerous in creative ways. "War leader," his intelligence officer said carefully, "the humans are broadcasting the battle. Multiple species are watching. Some are mocking our forces. Mocking? Thexkar couldn't believe it. We have superior numbers and weapons. Yes, war leader. But the humans are making us look foolish. They're using farming tools and mining equipment. They're colonists, not soldiers, and they're lasting far longer than they should. Thexkar stared at the tactical display. It showed his forces slowly taking the colony, but at what cost? He'd already lost more warriors than he expected. The humans were supposed to be weak, frightened, and easy to defeat. Instead, they were stubborn, creative, and absolutely refusing to give up. Send the third wave, Thexkar ordered. I want this colony taken now. On the surface, Lisa received reports of more landing craft approaching. They were running out of time and people. The Kryloth were learning their tactics and adapting. Eventually, numbers and weapons would win, but they weren't done yet. Kevin, how many drones do we have left? Lisa asked over the radio. Maybe 20. The crop dusters are all down. Use the drones on the new landing craft. See if you can damage a few before they unload. On it. The remaining agricultural drones swarmed the incoming landing craft. Most were shot down, but 3 found their targets. Small explosions damaged engines and control systems. 2 craft made hard landings that injured the warriors inside. It wasn't much, but every little bit helped. Danny's voice came through the radio. Lisa, the main street traps are all triggered. Most of the building collapses are done. We're running out of tricks. Then we do this the hard way, Lisa replied. Fall back to the secondary positions. Make them come to us. The battle had been going for 6 hours. The colony was being destroyed piece by piece. Fires burned in multiple locations. Bodies lay in the streets, human and Kryloth both. The colonists were exhausted, running low on ammunition and facing impossible odds. But they were still fighting. That was what mattered. Not victory, but refusal to surrender. The Kryloth expected an easy conquest. Instead, they got a brutal, grinding fight against an enemy that wouldn't quit no matter what. Jake found Lisa in the command center. Both of them looked exhausted. We've lost 47 people, Jake said quietly. Another 60 are wounded. We can't keep this up much longer. We don't have to keep it up much longer, Lisa said. We just have to keep it up long enough. Earth's reinforcements are still 18 days away, but we've already won something more important. What's that? We've shown them we're not weak. Every species in this sector is watching humans fight with farming equipment and homemade weapons. We're making the Kryloth look like fools. That's worth something. Jake nodded slowly. Worth dying for? Maybe. Ask me again if we survive. The third wave of Kryloth warriors pushed into the colony with overwhelming force. They had learned from the first 2 waves. They advanced slowly, checking every potential trap, covering every angle. It was effective but time-consuming. The colonists made them pay for every building, every street, every position. Night fell on New Haven. The battle continued under artificial lights and the glow of fires. The Kryloth controlled most of the colony now, but pockets of resistance remained. Colonists fought from basements and tunnels, from buildings that should have been taken hours ago, from positions that kept appearing where the Kryloth thought the area was secure. War leader Thexkar couldn't understand it. These were farmers, civilians, people who should have surrendered immediately when faced with military force. Instead, they fought like warriors who had nothing to lose. They adapted constantly, using tactics his military training never prepared him for, and the whole sector was watching. Thexkar could feel his reputation crumbling with every hour this battle dragged on. The second day of fighting began with smoke rising from a dozen fires across New Haven. The Kryloth controlled most of the colony's surface, but the humans refused to accept defeat. They moved through tunnels that Danny Wright's construction teams had mapped and expanded during the preparation time. The maintenance passages beneath the colony became highways for defenders who appeared, struck, and vanished before the Kryloth could respond. War leader Thexkar stood on his flagship bridge and stared at reports that made no sense. His forces had overwhelming advantages in numbers, weapons, and armor. Yet the conquest that should have taken hours was entering its second day. The humans kept fighting with whatever they could find. Yesterday it was farming equipment. Today they were using pieces of destroyed buildings as improvised weapons. How many warriors have we lost? Thexkar asked his tactical officer. The officer hesitated before answering. 73 confirmed dead. Another 200 wounded seriously enough to be withdrawn from combat. Nearly 300 casualties taking a farming colony. The number was humiliating. Worse, Thexacar knew that other species across the sector were calculating those numbers and drawing conclusions about Kryloth military effectiveness. On the surface, Jake Morrison led a team through the tunnel system beneath Building 17. The tunnels were cramped and dark, lit only by emergency lighting that flickered constantly. Jake's team consisted of 8 colonists, all exhausted and running low on ammunition. They had maybe 6 bullets per person for their hunting rifles. "There's a Kryloth patrol setting up a command post in Building 9, Jake said, checking a portable scanner that Danny had rigged to detect movement through walls. 6 warriors. They're not expecting trouble. Because they think they control this area," said Helen, a school teacher who 3 days ago had never fired a gun in her life. Now she moved through the tunnels like a veteran soldier. Jake's team emerged from a tunnel access point inside Building 9's basement. They moved upstairs quietly, weapons ready. The Kryloth warriors were 1 floor above, visible through gaps in the damaged structure. Jake signaled his team. They fired together. The hunting rifles barely scratched Kryloth armor, but they didn't need to penetrate. The surprise attack from an area the aliens thought was secure caused confusion. While the warriors scrambled to respond, Jake's team triggered an explosive charge that Danny's people had placed weeks ago during construction. A support beam collapsed, bringing down part of the ceiling. The humans retreated back through the tunnels before the Kryloth could recover. It was a small victory, injuring maybe 2 warriors and destroying their command post. But it was one more example of humans appearing where they shouldn't be able to appear, striking where they shouldn't be able to strike. Claire Hudson and her farmers used different tactics. They knew the terrain outside the colony perfectly. The Kryloth patrols that ventured into the farmland found themselves dealing with irrigation ditches that became trenches, agricultural machinery that had been converted into obstacles, and crops that hid pitfalls and traps. One Kryloth squad lost 2 warriors to a harvesting machine that Claire's team had rigged to activate remotely. The massive blades designed to cut crops worked just as well on surprised alien soldiers. The surviving warriors reported mechanical ambushes from farming equipment. Their commanders didn't believe them until video evidence confirmed it. Amy Chen continued broadcasting everything. She had moved her communication setup 3 times as the Kryloth took territory, always staying just ahead of the advance. Her commentary went out across multiple channels, reaching audiences throughout the sector. "This is day 2 of the New Haven defense," Amy said into her microphone while explosions echoed in the background. "The Kryloth Empire sent 12 warships and 5,000 warriors to conquer a farming colony. They expected victory in hours. They're still fighting. Why? Because humans don't surrender. Because we adapt. Because we fight with whatever we have and we never stop." Messages flooded back from across the sector. Some were from other human colonies offering support and supplies if New Haven survived. Others came from alien species, asking questions about human military capabilities. A few were from recent Kryloth conquests, quietly asking if resistance was actually possible. Ben Carter worked in the medical station, which had moved 4 times to stay ahead of the Kryloth advance. He treated wounds with supplies that were running dangerously low. Many colonists came back wounded multiple times. They got patched up and went back out to fight. Ben couldn't understand where they found the strength. "Doc, can you fix this?" A young man named Greg sat down on the medical table. He had a bad burn on his arm from a Kryloth energy weapon. "I can treat it," Ben said, examining the wound. "But you need rest. You've been fighting for 30 hours straight." "I'll rest when they leave or I'm dead," Greg said simply. He was 19 years old and had spent his whole life on New Haven. "This is my home, Doc. I'm not letting them take it." Ben bandaged the burn and watched Greg head back to the fighting. All across the colony, he saw the same thing. People who should be broken by exhaustion kept going. They fought because giving up wasn't in their nature. The psychological warfare intensified on the 2nd day. Ben's historical research had given them ideas about breaking enemy morale. The colonists implemented those ideas with creativity that surprised even themselves. Speakers hidden throughout the colony broadcast messages at irregular intervals. Sometimes it was Lisa Campbell explaining calmly how the colonists built each trap and weapon. Other times it was Ben lecturing about human military history, describing how humans had fought impossible wars for thousands of years. Occasionally it was just colonists talking about their lives, their families, and why they refused to surrender. "My name is Helen Porter," one broadcast said. The voice belonged to the teacher who now fought with Jake's team. 3 days ago, I taught mathematics to children. Today, I'm fighting alien invaders with a hunting rifle and homemade explosives. Why? Because humans adapt. We learn, we survive. The Kryloth think they're fighting farmers. They're wrong. They're fighting 10,000 years of human evolution that taught us one simple truth: never give up. The Kryloth warriors heard these broadcasts and couldn't stop them. The speakers were hidden. The signal bounced from multiple transmitters, and destroying one did nothing. The constant psychological pressure wore on soldiers who expected an easy victory. Krath, the warrior commander on the ground, reported back to Thexkar with growing frustration. War leader, we control most of the colony, but the humans won't stop. We clear a building and they attack it again from underground. We secure an area, and they strike from directions we thought were impossible. They're using the colony's infrastructure against us. Then destroy the infrastructure, Thexkar ordered. We've tried. Every time we demolish a building, they use the rubble as cover. When we collapse tunnels, they dig new ones or find routes we didn't know existed. War leader, these humans know this colony better than we know our own ships. They have home advantage in every engagement. Thexkar wanted to argue, but he couldn't. The tactical situation was clear. His forces were winning slowly, too slowly, and every hour this battle continued. His reputation suffered more damage. The Kryloth Empire had built its power on the image of unstoppable military might. That image was cracking. If farmers with hunting rifles could hold off a Kryloth fleet for days, what would happen when the Empire faced real human military forces? On the ground, the colonists felt their numbers shrinking. They had lost over 100 people now. Many more were wounded. Ammunition was critically low. The improvised weapons were running out. But they kept fighting because they had no other choice. Jake's team hit another Kryloth patrol, this time using nothing but construction tools because they were out of bullets. They dropped construction beams on warriors from above, used nail guns at close range, and set off gas line explosions in areas where the Kryloth congregated. It was desperate and dangerous. 2 of Jake's team didn't make it back. Claire's farmers fought their own battle in the agricultural zones. They used irrigation systems to flood areas where Kryloth patrols operated. They rigged grain silos to explode when triggered. One group managed to trap an entire squad of warriors in a greenhouse that they collapsed using support cables and determination. The Kryloth adapted to human tactics, but slowly. Their military training emphasized direct combat, clear battle lines, and honorable engagement. The humans offered none of those things. They fought dirty, using every trick they could think of, and the Kryloth struggled to counter tactics that had no honor or predictability. By the evening of the second day, both sides were exhausted. The Kryloth had taken about 80% of the colony, but at terrible cost. The humans held a few remaining strongholds and the tunnel systems that kept them mobile. Neither side could claim victory. Lisa Campbell gathered her surviving command staff in their 4th relocated command center. The room was a basement that smelled like smoke and chemicals. Maps covered one wall showing the shrinking territory they controlled. Everyone looked like they hadn't slept in days because they hadn't. Status report, Lisa said, her voice hoarse from smoke inhalation. We have maybe 300 people still fighting, Jake said. Another 200 wounded but alive. We've lost 146 confirmed dead. The number hit Lisa hard. Each death was someone she knew, someone who trusted her leadership, someone who believed they could survive. Ammunition? She asked. Almost gone. Maybe 50 bullets total across all our forces. After that, we're down to improvised weapons and hope. The Kryloth? They've lost around 400 warriors total, killed or seriously wounded. They're still bringing in fresh troops from orbit, but their morale is broken. I've seen their patrols. They move like they expect ambush from every direction. They're scared. Good, Lisa said. Fear is a weapon too. Amy looked up from her communications console. I'm still broadcasting. The whole sector is watching. Some of the responses are incredible. There's a petition circulating among Kryloth subject species calling for them to resist like New Haven is doing. The Empire is furious about it. How long until Earth's reinforcements arrive? Ben asked. 16 more days, Lisa said. The number felt like a death sentence. They couldn't hold out 16 more hours at this rate, let alone 16 days. Kevin Palmer entered the command center. He looked even worse than everyone else, covered in burns and cuts from working with explosive chemicals. I've got maybe 6 more drones that can fly and 5 explosive charges that might detonate. After that, I'm out of materials to work with. Then we use what we have, Lisa said. We keep fighting. Not because we can win, but because we refuse to lose. What's the difference? Someone asked. Winning means defeating them. Losing means surrendering. As long as we fight, we haven't lost, and every hour we hold out, we prove something to the galaxy. We prove that humans are dangerous even when we're weak. We prove that our colonies can't be taken easily. We prove that the Kryloth aren't unstoppable. The room was quiet. Everyone knew the truth. They were dying slowly, running out of everything they needed to keep fighting. But Lisa was right. Giving up wasn't an option. Not while they could still breathe. Jake stood up. Then let's make the next 16 days count. Or the next 16 hours, however long we've got. The third day began with the Kryloth launching a major offensive against the remaining human strongholds. The third day of battle dawned with the Kryloth preparing a final assault. War leader Thexkar had committed nearly his entire ground force. 3,000 warriors gathered to crush the remaining human resistance in one overwhelming attack. The colonists knew it was coming. They could see the buildup on their scanners. They prepared to make their last stand. Lisa Campbell stood in what remained of the command center and looked at the faces around her. Jake Morrison, exhausted but still ready to fight. Amy Chen, determined to broadcast until the very end. Ben Carter, preparing to defend the medical station with whatever he could find. Kevin Palmer, holding his last remote detonator like it was a holy relic. These people had given everything. They deserved better than to die in a forgotten colony on the edge of space. Final positions, Lisa ordered. Everyone knows the plan. We hold as long as we can. The words felt hollow. They all knew how this would end. The Kryloth would win through sheer numbers. The only question was how many colonists would survive to become prisoners. Then something unexpected happened. A single Kryloth landing craft approached the colony flying a white flag, an actual white flag, the universal symbol of truce that the Kryloth must have researched specifically for this moment. Are you seeing this? Jake asked, staring at the scanner display. I'm seeing it, Lisa replied, but I don't understand it. The landing craft set down in a cleared area that both sides could observe. A single Kryloth officer emerged, unarmed, holding a communication device. He activated it, and his voice came through on the human radio channels. I am Junior Commander Sharpsight of the Kryloth Empire. I request parley with the human leader. I come without weapons and with honorable intentions. Lisa and Jake looked at each other in disbelief. A Kryloth officer was requesting negotiations. The mighty Empire was asking to talk instead of just attacking. It could be a trick, Jake said. Of course it's a trick, Lisa replied. But what choice do we have? If they want to talk, we listen. Lisa walked out to meet Sharpsight in the neutral zone. She brought Jake and Amy with her. Both carried weapons openly. Sharpsight stood alone, which was either very brave or very foolish. Up close, Lisa could see that this Kryloth looked tired. His armor was damaged and his posture suggested someone carrying a heavy burden. Administrator Campbell, Sharpsight said through his translation device. The technology rendered his words in clear English. Thank you for meeting with me. We're listening, Lisa said. She kept her hand near her weapon just in case. Sharpsight looked around at the destroyed colony. Fires still burned in several locations. Bodies lay where they fell, human and Kryloth together. The settlement that once grew food for other colonies was now a battlefield. I am here without the knowledge or permission of war leader Thexkar, Sharpsight said carefully. What I say represents the feelings of many warriors in my command, but not our official leadership. Go on, Lisa prompted. We cannot continue this battle. Jake laughed harshly. You're winning. You have more warriors, better weapons, and orbital support. We're almost out of ammunition. Yes, Sharpsight agreed. We are winning militarily, but we are losing in every way that matters. Your people have shown us something that breaks our understanding of warfare. What's that? Lisa asked. That there are no weak human colonies. Only humans who fight with whatever they have for as long as they can. We came here expecting easy victory over frightened farmers. Instead, we found warriors who use farming equipment as weapons. We expected surrender when faced with superior force. Instead, we found stubbornness that refuses to acknowledge when battle is lost. Sharpsight touched a control on his device. Images appeared in the air between them, projected holographically. They showed footage from the battle. Colonists fighting with improvised weapons. Kryloth warriors confused and demoralized. Broadcasts that Amy had sent across the sector. These images have spread throughout the galaxy, Sharpsight said. Other species watch humans hold off a Kryloth fleet. Our subject peoples begin to question whether we are truly unbeatable. Some already rebel, inspired by your example. Good, Amy said quietly. Sharpsight nodded. Yes, good for them. Terrible for my empire. War leader Thexkar has received communications from our leadership. They are not pleased. He must either achieve immediate victory or withdraw in disgrace. He chooses to attack with everything he has. Within hours, he will order the final assault. Then why are you here? Lisa asked. Because that assault will kill most of your remaining people. You will be defeated, but at terrible cost. We will take casualties that shame us. The battle will be broadcast across the sector, showing the mighty Kryloth Empire needing 3 days and thousands of warriors to defeat a few hundred farmers. That image will haunt us for generations. Lisa began to understand. You want to negotiate a surrender. I want to negotiate a withdrawal, Sharpsight corrected. If you allow us to leave without further humiliation, claiming we departed after evaluating the strategic value of your colony, we will go. We will leave supplies, medical equipment, and materials to help rebuild. In exchange, you do not broadcast our departure as surrender. The offer hung in the air. Lisa looked at Jake and Amy. Both seemed as shocked as she felt. The Kryloth were offering to leave, to give up a battle they were winning, because the cost of victory was too high. Let me make sure I understand, Lisa said slowly. You want to abandon the conquest because we've made you look bad. Not just look bad, Sharpsight said. His translation device couldn't quite capture tone, but Lisa heard something like respect in his voice. You have changed how the galaxy sees humans. Before this battle, other species thought human colonies could be conquered if attacked with enough force. Now they know different. They know that even your weakest settlement will fight with farming tools and determination. That knowledge changes everything, Jake spoke up. What about war leader Thexkar? Will he agree to this? He will have no choice. Our warriors are exhausted and demoralized. They watch their comrades die to traps made from irrigation equipment. They hear your broadcasts explaining human military history, describing 10,000 years of warfare and survival. They understand now that humans are not like other species. You don't surrender when defeat is logical. You fight until you physically cannot fight anymore. Sharpsight paused and looked directly at Lisa. War leader Thexkar promised his troops glory. You have given them only embarrassment and fear. If he orders the final assault, I believe many warriors will refuse. Better to withdraw now with some dignity than be destroyed by our own troops' unwillingness to fight. Lisa needed time to think. This offer could be a trick designed to make the humans lower their guard. But looking at Sharpsight, she didn't think so. This Kryloth officer seemed genuine. More importantly, he seemed defeated in spirit even though his side was winning in combat. I need to discuss this with my people, Lisa said. Of course, I will wait here. Lisa, Jake, and Amy walked back to human lines. The surviving colonists gathered to hear what the Kryloth had said. Reactions were mixed. Some wanted to keep fighting, to make the Kryloth pay for every life lost. Others saw the chance to end the battle and save whoever was left. Claire Hudson spoke up from where she sat with her wounded leg bandaged. We've already won what matters. The whole galaxy watched us fight. They saw humans turn farming tools into weapons. They saw us refuse to surrender even when we should have. If the Kryloth want to leave, let them. We can rebuild. We can't bring back the dead. She's right, Ben Carter added. Every hour we keep fighting, more people die. If we can end this and save lives, isn't that worth something? Jake looked torn. They killed 146 of our people. They destroyed our colony, and we're supposed to just let them walk away? No, Lisa said firmly. We're supposed to make them understand they made a mistake attacking us. We're supposed to show the galaxy that human colonies can't be conquered easily. We've done that. The question is whether we die proving a point or survive to rebuild. The vote was close, but the decision was made. New Haven would accept the Kryloth withdrawal. They would let Sharpsight and his warriors leave without calling it surrender. In exchange, the colony would get supplies, medicine, and the chance to survive. Lisa walked back out to meet Sharpsight. We accept your offer. But understand this. We're not surrendering. We're allowing you to leave because we choose mercy. That's different. I understand the distinction, Sharpsight said, and I thank you for it. My warriors have learned a hard lesson here. We will not forget it. The withdrawal began within hours. Kryloth forces pulled back to their landing craft in organized formations, trying to maintain some dignity. They left behind crates of supplies and medical equipment as promised. War leader Thexkar remained in orbit, broadcasting official statements about strategic reassessment and resource allocation. Nobody believed those statements, but they gave the Kryloth a way to save face. Amy broadcast the withdrawal across all channels. She didn't call it surrender explicitly, but she didn't need to. Everyone watching understood what they were seeing. The Kryloth Empire, faced with determined human resistance, had chosen to leave, rather than continue a battle they should have won easily. The last Kryloth shuttle lifted off on the evening of the third day. The colonists watched from the ruins of their settlement as the alien fleet departed from orbit. When the sensors confirmed all ships were gone, a cheer went up from the surviving defenders. Not a victory cheer, but a survival cheer. They had held out. They had won by refusing to lose. Lisa stood in the central plaza, or what was left of it, and looked at the damage. The colony would take years to rebuild. Many of the dead couldn't be replaced. The cost had been terrible. But they were still here, still standing, still human. 5 days later, Earth's reinforcement fleet arrived. Admiral Ryan Fletcher's flagship entered orbit, expecting to find ruins and mass graves. Instead, his sensors detected human life signs and active communications. "Earth fleet, this is New Haven Colony," Lisa transmitted. She tried not to smile at the confusion she knew she was causing. "Your assistance is appreciated, but is no longer urgently required. We've handled the situation. Welcome to the frontier." The silence from the fleet lasted almost a minute. Then Admiral Fletcher's voice came back, filled with disbelief. "New Haven, please confirm. Are you saying the Kryloth threat has been neutralized?" "Confirmed, Admiral. The Kryloth fleet withdrew 3 days ago. We're currently engaged in reconstruction efforts, though we would appreciate any medical supplies and building materials you can spare." Admiral Fletcher himself came down to the surface in a shuttle. He walked through the damaged colony with Lisa, taking in the destruction and the bodies still being recovered. Colonists worked to repair buildings and clear rubble. Children played in areas that had been battlefields days before. Life was returning to New Haven, slowly but steadily. "I don't understand," Admiral Fletcher said. "Our intelligence said the Kryloth sent 12 warships and 5,000 warriors. How did you survive?" "We fought with what we had," Lisa replied simply. "Farming equipment, mining explosives, construction tools, stubbornness. We couldn't match their military might, so we didn't try. We just refused to give up." Fletcher looked at her with something like awe. "You held off a Kryloth fleet with farming equipment." "We're farmers, Admiral. We solve problems with the tools available. The Kryloth were just another problem." Word of New Haven spread throughout human space within days. The battle became legendary. Defense analysts studied the tactics. Military academies added the defense of New Haven to their curriculum. Other colonies requested information on how to prepare similar defenses. But on New Haven itself, life gradually returned to normal. The colonists buried their dead with honors. They repaired buildings and replanted fields. They accepted the supplies that Earth sent and the volunteers who came to help rebuild. Most importantly, they got back to work. Farming, manufacturing, living. 1 month after the battle, Lisa stood at a memorial ceremony for those who died. 146 names were carved into a stone monument in the rebuilt Central Plaza. Jake Morrison, Amy Chen, Ben Carter, and the other survivors gathered around. Claire Hudson was there on crutches, her legs still healing. Kevin Palmer stood with bandaged hands that had been burned building weapons from farm equipment. "These people died defending their home," Lisa said to the gathered crowd. "They weren't soldiers. They were farmers and teachers and engineers and parents. But when the Kryloth came, they became defenders. They showed the galaxy that humanity's strength doesn't come from our biggest warships or our most advanced weapons. It comes from our refusal to surrender, our willingness to fight with whatever we have, our determination to survive no matter the odds." She paused and looked at the names on the monument, each one a person she knew, each one a life cut short defending what they believed in. Earth called New Haven its weakest colony. They were wrong. There are no weak human colonies. There are only humans, and we are all the same. We adapt, we survive. We fight. The Kryloth learned that lesson. The whole galaxy learned that lesson. Let's make sure they never forget it. The ceremony ended. People drifted away to continue the work of rebuilding. Lisa stayed behind looking at the memorial and thinking about everything that happened. They had lost so much, but they had also won something precious. They had proven that humans couldn't be easily conquered, not even on the frontier, not even when outnumbered and outgunned. Jake came over and stood beside her. You know what the best part is? What's that? The Kryloth spent all this time and effort trying to conquer us because we were weak. But we were never weak. We were just human, and that turned out to be more than enough. Lisa smiled. Just human. I like that. Life on New Haven continued. The crops grew again. Children played in streets that had been battlefields. The colony expanded and prospered, and whenever new settlers arrived, the old-timers would tell them the story. The story of how Earth's weakest colony faced a Kryloth fleet and won by simply refusing to lose. The galaxy remembered New Haven. It became a symbol of human determination, a reminder that humanity's colonies, no matter how small or remote, were defended by people who would never surrender. That knowledge changed how other species approached human space. Some became more cautious. Others became more respectful. All of them understood that humans were dangerous opponents, even the farmers. Years later, a Kryloth diplomatic mission visited New Haven. They came to establish trade relations and improve understanding between species. Sharpsight led the delegation. He walked through the rebuilt colony and marveled at how thoroughly the humans had recovered. You could have died here, Sharpsight said to Lisa during a formal dinner. Your people could have been wiped out. Instead, you rebuilt and prospered. How? Lisa thought about the question. Because that's what humans do. We survive, we adapt. We refuse to give up. The Kryloth taught us we were tougher than we thought. We taught the Kryloth that humans can't be easily conquered. It was a lesson both sides needed. Sharpsight nodded slowly. My people call the Battle of New Haven a cautionary tale. We teach young warriors what happens when you underestimate your enemy. We show them how farmers held off a fleet. It keeps us humble. Good, Lisa said. Humility is an important lesson. The dinner continued with talk of trade agreements and cultural exchange. But Lisa knew the real exchange had already happened. The Kryloth learned that humans were dangerous. Humans learned they were stronger than they believed. Those lessons would shape relations between the species for generations to come. And it all started on a dusty farming colony that Earth thought was too weak to matter. A colony that proved strength comes in many forms, and determination matters more than weapons. A colony called New Haven, where humans showed the galaxy what they were truly made of. Earth's weakest colony wasn't weak at all. They were just human, and that was enough.